Welcome to B.A.Showoff, the Dance Lifestyle Podcast. I'm Becky.
And I'm Alexandra. And whether you're a dance coach, dance parent, or a dancer yourself, this is the show for you. Today, we're meeting with the iconic Carsen Rowe from Tribe 99 Choreography.
Welcome, Carson.
Hi, Carson.
Hey,
Hi,
guys.
thank you for being here with us.
We're so excited. I said it's my first time in a podcast studio. This is official.
Yeah,
It's
well,
really
welcome.
official.
Yeah.
So tell us about you, about yourself in the dance team world, and how you got all this Tribe 99 and College Combine stuff going.
Yeah. So I'll try to, tighten it because I can talk for hours. But essentially, I grew up, I think a lot of people don't know, I grew up in the dance team space. So that's really is like where my background, and I think like where my, I would say, true self and my training came from. So I was blessed enough to have my mom as my studio owner and dance coach. Some of you may know her. Her name is Terry Rowe. I call her the queen of the dance team world. So she owned our studio, and we trained. It was interesting when we grew up. I kind of trained like a studio dancer. So we took class, trained all the time, grew up in a pre-professional ballet company until I was 14, went to conventions, did things like a typical studio kid, but we competed at UDA Nationals as an all-star team. Mm-hmm. So we practiced one day a week, would go to UDA Nationals and compete there. So I really was competing, from 10 years old to all the way through college, so 22, was competing at UDA Nationals. So after I kind of graduated, before that I started to get into choreography. I was really heavily choreographing all the way throughout college. Started to get I was choreographing for other colleges while on my college team, so really started to kick off my own choreography career. And so when I graduated, I actually stayed on and got my master's in criminology, which a lot of people don't know. Didn't ever use it at all today. Don't tell my dad. My dad still hates that. But I ended up, we started Tribe 99 in 2016. Essentially started as a choreography company. And it was, the reason was by that point, when you only take on one team in every category, by that you're blocked off pretty quick because you only have jazz, hip hop, pom, one team. And I was choreographing for essentially a team in every single category and every style. So I was booked out fast by the time I was, again, graduating college. And then I had a lot of friends that were choreographers that were like, how do I get into this dance team space? Or how do I get more clients? So that's kind of what kicked off what we call now Choreo Connect, which essentially is our agency that we run with Tribe 99. And then a year after, in 2017, we started the first ever Dance Combine. So that is now today our flagship, biggest national event, which is called the Dance Combine, and essentially focuses on helping high school dancers get to that next level and get exposure to college dance team coaches. So it's been a wild journey. And then the third thing I would say that Tribe does and kind of what we're about is the convention side, which is really just the training aspect and educating dancers. I feel and parents, honestly. The parents are the most people that are where can I learn this information? Mm-hmm. So I feel that's something that is really important to me, is helping these dancers and educating them on this is how you need to get to the next level. Here's the things that you need to do. Here's the mistakes that I've seen, kind of all the things. So we really cover the whole gamut on the college dance team recruiting side, and I would say is probably what we're most known for. But it's been a wild journey so far.
The name Tribe 99, where'd that come from?
But essentially, I would say majority of the reason that we started Tribe and why Tribe is what it is because we wanted it to feel all-encompassing. We wanted something to feel when people came to our events, they were a part of something. And I think for me, I would say the deeper down version of the 99 is really just I want people essentially we can get you 99%, but you need to be the 1% in the world. So it's been a journey ever since.
It has. Cool. And it's been cool to watch you guys grow. So, I wasn't there in the beginning, but I think when I started, using Sammy, it was early on, and watching what it's become is incredible, and in a short amount of time.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, even when you guys started working with Sammy, that was 2019. So that was even 4 years into the business. So we're going into our 10th, May of 2026 will be our 10th anniversary as a business. Wow. And the Dance Combine will be the 10th. And
then you grew so much even with COVID, because COVID held everybody back, not you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good thing is, we're a very small team internally. I have an amazing crew that's been with me, specifically Trish, who's been with me for, 6-7 years now. But essentially, with COVID, it was you can either shut down, but I think that thank God for Zoom and these virtual platforms. I mean, I was living with my parents during COVID, teaching classes out of the garage consistently. Our entire choreography agency shifted to a virtual platform. We were training our internal staff on how to choreograph routines on Zoom, what that looks like, because obviously that's a totally different dynamic. Mm-hmm. So we didn't shut down. Obviously the business took a hit as any company did, but I think what I love about being small, and obviously we've grown so much since, but we were able to adapt very fast. I can make a decision and then the next day it's go time. We're going. There's no up the chain, down the chain, 17 moving parts, moving people, we can move pretty fast. So with COVID, that really came to an advantage because we shifted quick.
And it's cool because we all started using Zoom and videos and stuff like that, and continued, because now, once a choreographer comes, now I send videos, and then they could be on Zoom and watch everything live, and it's something that we weren't doing before, really.
Right.
Yeah.
But after COVID, it just became natural.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think any dancer or choreographer probably out there has like a love-hate relationship with Zoom.
Yeah.
I think so. Most of us are like, please, like never again. But I do think there are times, again, especially when you get into the busy season, when your choreographer is like, I need to change this 8 count. And sometimes it doesn't make sense, or the team doesn't have the budget to fly the choreographer all the way back. So it makes a lot more sense to like pop on a quick Zoom session, get that stuff together, get on a quick practice.
Yeah.
It is, but I would say most choreographers out there are like, please.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, even like your mom, that Alexandra used her to do consulting through video, which,
and she loves that.
Yeah.
She's one of a kind. I'm like, she loves a good Zoom consulting session. I'm like, I think any of us would just much rather prefer to be there in person.
Yeah.
No, and she was absolutely fully invested. She was like giving me all the things. It was fabulous. It was great.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
So when you started the combines, how did you have the idea to get that started? Because that is so cool, and I really, really believe that has made such a difference for all these dancers.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, so idea kind of came about, so kind of getting back a little bit into my background, because I think this goes into why that happened. I, in 2018, well, even before that, again, was choreographing for a lot of college dance teams already. So I had a lot of relationships to college coaches who, when you're talking to them and working with these programs, were kind of giving me this insight of like, we're thinking about shifting to this recruiting only model. So obviously having that like insider knowledge and info helps from a business perspective, because your job, right, or slash how I approach my business and being a business owner is really just filling the gaps where we need to. And, I also danced in college, but before that, right, up until I graduated college in 2015, it was audition only, right, which is a lot of schools now, but like I had to show up and audition and like make the team. So I got to experience that myself. So there was a massive gap of like, okay, well, if I'm from Washington State and I want to get seen by multiple coaches, like aside from showing up and like at their audition, there wasn't really an option for that. So the idea really came about from having just good relationships in the industry and good relationships with a lot of these coaches, and having done dance team for a long time. Being in the industry and knowing these people, I started to kind of see the need for it, and I started to kind of see the shift. And so, it was probably the biggest, looking back at it, I think to your point, it's been amazing, because the exact time that event started, the Dance Combine, it literally has paralleled everything that's happened in the recruiting side of college dance. So it's been really cool to watch. We started that event with, I think we had 10 coaches, 12 coaches, and like 60 kids in Vegas. And that was in 2017 was our first event. And then, or 2017. And then now, obviously this last year in Dallas, we just wrapped up. We had, 65 college programs and 375 dancers in person, another 250 attending at home. So it's been amazing to see the growth. But I think the biggest priority is to help those dancers. Yeah. I'm like, that's the biggest thing, because it's huge.
It was really impressive walking in and seeing all of those kids there, and like, it's so organized too. Like, it's really hard to just like get all those kids into the same room and then like have it organized that way. Like, watching even the 4x8s, the improv across the floor, the two groups, the college coaches, like
the little white flags going.
The white flags, the moving parts.
When you see that white flag, it's like game over. See you later, girls. That's probably the funnest part for me as a spectator, is like watching the staff with the white flags. I'm like, listen, we told you 4 counts.
Yeah. So, get out.
Literally. No, but thank you. I mean, the compliment about the organization does mean a lot, because that event does take a year to plan. I mean, it is so many moving parts, so many moving pieces to the puzzle. There's so many people involved. So becoming an event producer, I wouldn't say is necessarily like where I thought my journey would have gone really as a business owner. But I do think that it's something really cool, and it's very rewarding to watch all those pieces come together. But it does take a full year to plan. And like you said, there's just, and timely, like it's so important to me. But obviously growing up in the dance industry, like how many things don't run on time, or nobody knows what's going on. It's like, we kind of, internally obviously pride ourselves on like people, like the organization of the event. Because I'm also like, these parents are paying a lot of money to have their kids travel across the country. I'm like, the last thing we want to do is people to be like, wait, what's happening here? So yeah, it's pretty cool. And I just, want to throw out there too, it's like we've had 10 years to develop that. Like there's been, there's a lot of combines, there's a lot of things popping up now, but like we've had 10, like there was no 4x8 showcase.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't a thing. Like there wasn't a lot of these, call it like coach connection, talking to coaches. It's like those things, the blueprint wasn't out there. So, myself and obviously the team that I've had, we've had 10 years of like literally crafting that, and every single year we change it too.
Yeah,
People
trial and error.
You
You see what works and what doesn't work, and
I think
make it better.
I'm not afraid to be like, okay, that didn't work. Like, I think that's probably like, I talk to a lot of the college coaches afterwards, or parents or kids. We really take those surveys, I think really seriously, because it's really important that we change the event every year. Like we've tried some things and I'm like 2 years ago we did technique stations and it was a nightmare. I was like, yeah, we're never doing that again. I'm like, okay, like were we all on the same page? I'm like, cool. Like I was watching it and I was like, yeah, this isn't working. So I think it's important though to be that type of person, to be like, not so stuck in your ways and just evolve and like, okay, that didn't work.
If a kid comes to you and says, I'm at the combine and I'm doing everything I can, but nobody's, catching me. What do you say to them? What do they need to do to stand out for these coaches?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would say that's probably the most common question. There's 2 common questions I get asked by recruits today. It's how do I stand out, and how do I talk to a college coach?
Yeah, that was my next question.
Yeah. I'm like, I know those are like the most common questions. I feel like anywhere I go in the world, and I've talked to thousands of recruits in a summer, always the top 2 questions. So standing out, I would say, like specifically at our event, I think it's important to understand that you are in a room of 300 dancers, or 375. So close to 400 dancers in a room. So it is hard in that setting to stand out, but I also think it's important to understand that there's such a variety of coaches that are attending that event. So you might not, quote, think you're standing out to X team that you really want to make an impression on, but you don't know that there's not 6 other coaches that have you written down on their list. Mm-hmm. It's also hard too, because it's a 3-day event. I mean, it comes and goes so fast. You're learning master classes, you boom, boom, boom. It's such a high, really fun, also very stressful event for these dancers and the recruits. So I would just say for them, the biggest thing is, number one, is when you do have those moments to stand out, the 4x8 showcase, the improv or like the battle that we do, there are a lot of individualized elements, or like when you're in your massive group, something really important that we've strived to be at this event is like the purpose of the event is to get these kids seen. That is like the number one goal. So yes, the lights, camera, and action that keeps developing, and we do a lot of really cool things on the production side, but like at the core is getting these kids exposure. So like you'll notice like at our event, like all these kids go in maybe a group of like 10 to 20 max. So like you really do have those individual moments. So my advice there would be, make sure that you understand that like when you do have that moment, like you got to take it. Like you can't be tentative and in that comparison mode, because that's hard too. You're at, I think about, myself too, going to conventions and stuff growing up. It's hard not to look around and be like, whoa, like what's my thing? Like, what do I have to give here? But I think it's important that you, like, with your studio owner and your coaches and people like that beforehand, kind of figure out what that thing is. And then if you have a moment, like, take it. Like, you can't be tentative. Like, if there's an improv battle, it was like there was a 15-year-old this year. Obviously, you guys got to see it. I don't know if you were there for the improv showcase or battle, but there was like a 15-year-old this year who, she was the first one to just like, she just got up on the stage. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that's one way to do it. Yeah. Like, she just wasn't tentative. She didn't second guess herself, and she had that confidence, and she was, I think, going to be a sophomore. So like, baby. Like, she did it before anybody else did. Yeah. And then it was cool though, because it amped everybody else up. Everybody's competitors at heart, and especially when you're at that event, it's no different than the Nike Combine. You're competing against people in that room. So it elevated everybody else, because everybody was like, oh, like,
what do I do now?
Rules. Like, that's what I always tell them. Like, there's no rules. So like, the fact that you guys aren't like going rogue and doing crazier stuff is like beyond me. I'm like, I feel like I'd be going up there, but
I think a lot of them second guess themselves when they're doing their improv. Like, oh yeah, it's like, what do I do? The music comes out and they want to impress, but they're not sure, and they're not comfortable doing improv sometimes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that one of the things I tell the dancers is like, practice improving, because improv is going to help you in that moment. That's where you stand out.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, I mean, take it from somebody who like literally hates improving. Like up until I was, even when I was doing TV and film and I was auditioning every other weekend in Atlanta, I hated it. Like absolutely hated it. I'm not going to lie. Like I did it because I had to. I did it to survive and like to book a job. But like, I wouldn't say I naturally have that. Like a Nathan, or like a somebody who like came from that feeling of just, it comes so natural to just like put on music and go. I'm a little bit more like, okay, so like what's a step? Like 5, 6, 7, 8. Like but you get forced to do it, so it's important for these kids to understand. I'm like, listen, I always feel with them. I'm like, listen, I understand it's not, you might not feel as comfortable, but the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. It's the same way I was with auditioning when you have to improv or freestyle every single time. Oh. It's like you just have to do it more, which is why we do it a lot at our events too. Every single tribe event we do, we essentially have some type of improv portion or battle, or at the tour, which is our dance team convention, we have like an improv class this year. So we actually kind of teach them, give them a little bit more structure on like how to improv. Because that's another hard thing too, is like there is kind of not a technique, but there's a confidence there that has to get built. So sometimes they walk into these events for the first time and it's like, okay, go. And they're like, oh no.
Or if they're a hip hop dancer and they only know how to hip hop, and then you put like a slow contemporary.
And they're like, crickets, like what do I do? Or opposite. So yeah, it's crazy, but that I would say the standing out question is probably one of the most common questions.
I always tell my kids, I'm like, find one skill you're really good at, put it in your improv, and then like just find ways around it and make sure that helps you stand out and push to the front.
Yeah.
Like especially when you're coming forward in that improv, everybody is doing something, push to the front, grab the attention from the get-go.
And even like I think it's also just being present. Like, and it's so hard to say to like a 16-year-old dancer because like, you know, that comes with maturity. But I think the ones that do stand out at the event too, like aren't afraid to take like a pause, like take a moment. Like even when it comes to an improv, like the ones who just start, like sometimes they'll just like stand there for an 8 count and you're like, yes, like work. Like, because it's refreshing after you're just seeing like skill, aerial, 540, triple turn, boom, disc. Like it's like, so then when the one person does come out and is like, I'm going to showcase more movement. And again, that comes with emotional maturity, but like having presence, like being very present in the moment and kind of playing off of your audience too. That comes with a lot of, like age development. But those are the people I think, like when those 16-year-olds can't do it, that's what I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, because you can't teach that kind of stage presence.
No, that's like the X factor that really does. It is. And then to your point too, a lot of recruits are like, I'm like, how do I stand out? I'm like, well, your ability level first and foremost. Like there is, you know, point blank, it's no different than any other collegiate sport. You know, your ability level is what you're going to stand out with. That's at the forefront. And then the second part of that is obviously, the personal X factor of like the performance quality, the stage presence, that like emotional connection to people in front of you. That's like what makes dancers go from being like, okay, they're really good to like, wow, please come to my team tomorrow. I'll take you. Sign here on the dotted line. So,
do you find that a lot of coaches are fighting for the same dancers?
Yeah. I mean, especially as I would say the more competitive teams, it kind of just depends. I think that in today's day and age, I think each college program does develop their own recruiting profile is what I would call it, right? So the dancer that they are looking for is unique to them. But I also think that those do overlap when you're talking about like the type of skill set and the type of kid and the type of whatever. It does kind of do this, especially as you get to the top at the highest competitive level of college dance. So yes, I have seen it a lot. You do see a lot of the like, you know, some people getting 2 offers, or I'll have a lot of dancers call me and for like probably one of my favorite parts about what I used to be able to do, but the business grown so much I don't get to do a lot anymore, is the personal mentorship side. But I will randomly get a DM from a kid that's like, 911, can you help me? And I do, you know, when I do talk to those kids, it's like the kid that's like, I got an offer, but then I'm also supposed to be auditioning for this school the next week, and like they're in a really tough predicament. And that's the unfortunate world about college dance right now. Yeah. It's a little unregulated.
Well, I think that the high school coaches need some guidance as well, and they don't really have it. They don't know how to guide the kids, you know, to get into these college programs, and they don't have connections with these coaches. So I think that's still something that, you know, like I have, I think I have, you know, I've been able to build good connections with coaches and stuff, but I know that everybody doesn't have that luxury. And I think that there's, you know, there needs to be a way of coaches, they, you know, even if they go to the combines and they sit there and they talk and stuff.
Or just introduce yourself.
Yes.
And like you said, I mean, that also didn't fall in your lap either. Like you were, you know, you reached out and you have brought people into your program, and you've brought people into the Miami area. So I feel like you guys have done a great job of expanding that. And so I think when I approach anything like in collegiate dance, or like obviously like as a business owner, I do approach it very much from like a other collegiate sports industry, because I think that's where we're going. And so I say that because I think it's important to know, like, that relationship between a high school, if you take baseball, football, basketball, whatever, that relationship between a high school coach and a college coach normally is tight.
Yeah.
Like that college coach is normally able, those are their, not scouts, but those are their frontline people. You know, they're soldiers on the ground that are able to tell them, like, okay, what's the work ethic of the kid, or do you have anybody coming up the pipeline I need to be looking at? Like, obviously, normally it's not the head coach, right? But it's their scouts or their internal recruiting team on a football team that are going down there, and they do have with those relationships. Like, that's what I'm hoping that kind of next step is that both sides can kind of, I think, do a better job of communicating, because it's also only going to benefit the kid or the kids.
Definitely.
Like, and we've talked about it before too, that like on top of the high school coaches needing to be taking that extra step to build a relationship, I think it's so important for college coaches to also know who they're working with. And understand that, like, it's really important that I build a relationship with this coach, because you never know who you're going to want from that team.
And let me tell you what, if I was I'm not a coach today, but if I was, I think that's something that I would really invest my time in, is getting to know some of the top. If I was coaching a D1A competitive top college program, I think that I would invest the time in getting to know the top high school programs or the top studio owners or whoever it is. Like, those relationships are important. Because when you do have that amazing kid, it's like, who are they calling?
Right.
You know, and so when you do have that relationship, I think it's, you know, cool, because again, it's just at the benefit of the kid. So to your point, I think it's definitely on both sides. It's not just the high school side, but it's also not just the college side. It's really, I think the high school coaches are terrified to, like, overstep and do something wrong. But I think we also, like, truly, we just have to, like, look at every other college sports industry, and I'm like, that's the name of the game.
I don't know if there's something that you can do in the big combine that you could invite high school coaches. Hey, come and, from this time to this time, we'll have a meet and greet with the college coaches. Because it's hard. And when we were there, I thought about them. Like, it'd be great if we could walk around and talk to them. But the coaches are there to talk to the kids. Like, they're not in that mind frame at that moment. But how cool would it be if we could sit there and, talk to this coach and talk. I mean, I have relationships with, like, Joyce at UCF and Melissa in Ohio. But there's certain coaches I've never spoken to. And my kids would love to go there.
Yeah, they barely, sometimes, I mean, think about it, too, from a high school coach perspective. It's like, when are you ever, aside from, like, at a combine, when, to your point, they're in, like, full recruiting mode, when do you ever get to talk to them? Like, they're, unless they're really never around. So, I mean, I think that's a great idea. I think the hardest part about the combine is truly the schedule. Like, we are so stretched. But I do think there's an absolute way that we can do that, and I think it's interesting, and I think it would be beneficial for them to get that opportunity.
And we're lucky already because we're going for the coaches conference. So
which is
you combine it all. It's great to
which not enough coaches are educated on.
No,
well, I was gonna say NDCA is like again, if I'm a high school coach or a middle school coach or whatever, if I'm a coach that's just trying to build those relationships, NDCA, obviously the National Dance Coaches Association, I think is a great place to start. I'm like, you're literally there for 3 days with those people. So like, talk about networking. I'd be like, schmoozing, work in the room, like, hey, like, that's what it is. It's networking. I think a lot of people in the dance industry don't approach it like a business.
They don't. They don't. And we're in a competitive world all the time, so it's like you're being competitive. Like, I'm not going to talk to you because I compete against you. I'm not going to talk because I compete, but it shouldn't be that way. There has to be a moment that it's like, let's all just, come together and let's work together and, network. And you do it in every other business. Why wouldn't we do it here?
I think that's probably like one of my, I don't know what the right word is for it, but like maybe, I don't know, pet peeve or like one of my issues, I guess, that I have with the dance industry is like that feeling of everything feels so personal and so tight, and so like, this is mine and that's not yours, and this is mine. It's like
high strung,
yes, and so competitive. Which, trust me, I'm the most competitive person you'll meet. I'm like, if we're not winning, see you later. Like, but I think it's important to understand the big picture, and I think again, when you look at other sports, it's like that doesn't happen. It doesn't really exist like that. Now you have there is always the competitive. Like, we're all going after that same insert 5-star recruit. So it does get crazy. That's never going to go away. That's not what I'm talking about. I think it's in those settings that you were saying that I wish people would approach it a little bit more openly and understand that, like, having a good relationship with everybody is really going to help you.
And at what level do you think coaches should be involved in their students' recruitment process? Like, at what point is it too much from a coach, and at what point is it beneficial for a coach to be involved?
I mean, that's like an amazing question. I think this is how so I do a lot of parent seminars, and it's probably honestly one of my favorite. I like roast the parents, honestly. Like, it's a roast, but it's also like, so I do it, I feel like in a good way, that it's good for them to understand where they stand, and same thing with high school coaches. So like, imagine, this is what I always say, like when I talk to these parents or when I'm educating, it's like, imagine the recruitment journey. It's like a bus, okay, or like a ship. And I always say, like, you need to imagine like the dancer is like the captain of the ship, like hat, toot toot, like charging forward. In the middle area is the dance professionals high school coaches, studio owners, people who are developmentally in charge of their talent, like their dancing ability, or academic, insert counselors, and then at the very, very back, I would say, is parents. So, very, very back. So, to your, to your question, I think it's important to understand, or I guess my opinion of it would be, I think finding a balance is key, because there are people that overstep, right? But I also think a lot of people are so afraid to overstep that they don't do anything for their, not anything, but they don't know how. It's kind of a little bit of both. I think a lot of high school coaches out there truly don't understand. They don't know. And the education isn't just floating out there. So there's not really anybody, I feel like, educating these studio owners and high school coaches of like, this is what that should look like. So I guess, if I had to kind of explain what it would be, I think that being the like a 16-year-old doesn't have a lot of self-awareness. They all want to go to the same top 3 schools or the same, and I'm like, okay, do the math. Like, and I always call myself anti-Carson when I'm talking to the recruits. I'm like, okay, anti-Carson's tapping in, and I'm very truthful with them. You have to be direct and talk about the numbers. I'm like, you're all, raise your hand if you want to go to X school. Literally all 275. I'm like, okay. And it's really important to understand that out of those top 3 programs that you're imagining in your brain at, like, let's just take UDA, for example, like there are maybe 15 spots a season, 15 to 20 spots. So like, unless you can seriously look at your own talent level, your ability level, your character, and your GPA, because they forget that they actually have to like get into school.
Right.
Yeah.
Then, you need to like have a more attainable goal. So I think where the high school coaches and the studio owners and all the people who are like in that middle chunk of the bus can come in is helping educate them and talking to them from a very realistic standpoint. I think a lot of high school coaches, because I'm with them and I hear these conversations, sometimes people are so afraid to hurt their feelings. And I think it's important when you're working with 15 to 16-year-olds, more than likely girls, it is important to teach them that like you don't want to crush their soul, because like you never want to tell them you can't. No, you're not going to be able to do that in your life. Because I think it's important to make them feel encouraged and supported. But at the same time, it's like, it's so detrimental for their journey and financially, all the things that go into a recruitment journey if they are going after the wrong schools. So I think as a high school coach, it's really, I think, your job and your responsibility, and that's just kind of the role that I play, just not, I don't actively coach, in being that like person. So I do have really like realistic conversations where I'm like, hey, like, I don't think that's going to be possible. Now, do I think that like you have 2 years to develop, and if this is what you really want in your life, like, can you make it happen? Yes. But like, I do think there's more attainable goals that, instead of making a team where you're going to be in the back corner and alternate for 4 years, you need to maybe look at these other schools where you're going to thrive. Like, they're going to match your strengths. They're going to match your skill set. Like, you're not going to be on the bench. You're going to be thriving. And so I think to your like question about timeline, as soon as they get into high school, it's crazy. Like, I would say like literally freshman year, you can start to develop their talent, start to work with them on their weaknesses. A lot of the dancers, right, don't understand like, I don't have X, like my weakness is X. So like, I think that's where a lot of the high school coaches can really come into play, and studio owners is like on the talent side, being like, okay, like let's develop a plan to get you stronger in that area, or work with the studio owners if you're a high school coach. I think that really comes into play. So it is really an important role, to your point. And I think majority of it is I think a lot of these coaches want to help so bad. That's like the feeling that I get all across the country. They want to help. They truly are like, a lot of them don't know where to start.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't even know what to do.
Yeah.
So that's always like, that's where I like to meet with these people and kind of talk to them and give them, any advice that I have. Not that I have it all, but it is sad that they don't like have enough. I'm like, okay. I'm like, this is what
Were you a part of the putting together the Common App?
No, I actually wasn't. So we partner with NDCA every year. And again, for those that don't know, so my mom, Terry Rowe, was like on the executive board of the National Dance Coaches Association. So having worked together and our events collaborate together, I would say like people think that like we're intertwined or coexist, but we are really 2 separate entities. So no, I wasn't involved in it. However, like obviously they do like a future of dance team surveys and things like that too. So like, I really pay attention to that because I think, obviously hearing it from the coaches is the most important to kind of hear where it's going. So no, I was not a part of that, but like I'm a massive supporter of it. Massive. I think I've posted like 4 things on Instagram. I'm like, hey, me again, recruits. Like, I think it's amazing. Yeah. I think it's like massive game changer.
Yeah. I've had many kids come to me and like ask me, can you help me with my college videos? And like the frustration that I would have of like having to do all of these first round videos and do them over and over and over again. And it might be you could do this video and it has all the same skills, but you have to do it in a certain sequence, and then the next video is the same skills, just in a different sequence.
Different outfit, your hair is half up, or it's like back in a pony. You have to do this music.
Different deadlines. Sometimes
different
deadlines of like high school nationals, which I think is crazy.
Yep. Yeah. They're like, and on February 2nd, your recruiting videos due. You're like, okay, I'm literally walking off of my finals floor, but thank you. Like,
just left the castle.
Yeah, like just left the castle, but don't worry, I will be hitting that quad in the studio. Yeah, that's probably, I think, the most frustrating thing that I hear from the other side, right? Because like I would say we operate in the middle. Tribe is like the bridge, I would say, between kind of the college side and the high school side. That's like where we live, obviously, in this, what we do. And I think that's probably one of the biggest frustrations I hear from the dancer, and honestly some college coaches as well, but specifically the parents and the high school dancers. It's the lack of regulation, right? The lack of clear deadlines. Even the offer date. It puts those kids in like a really tough, and I'm happy that we're talking about this today, because I don't really get a lot of, not one to like get off my platform on social media and, chit chat. But I do really hope that is in the future. Like, it puts these kids in a very difficult position when they're getting an offer, whatever date it is, and then the next week there's an audition for a school, and they're like, okay, so I'm either dancing in college and I'm accepting, let's say it's not even their number one school. So it's their number 3 school that they get an offer from, but their number 1 school has an audition the next weekend that they got personally invited to.
Right.
They're asking me like, well, what do I do? And I'm like, kid, this is like, you're probably the biggest adult decision. Like, welcome to the real world, because I don't know what to tell them. It's hard. Like, that's difficult. I'm like, so then essentially it's either like you either take the offer and you're dancing in college no matter what, or you hold out.
Yeah. And it's not, I mean, all these other sports are regulated, but we don't have those kind of regulations across the board.
We don't. Not yet, but I think we're getting there.
I think so too.
It's a stepping stone.
It is, for sure. It's a huge, and I think the college, or the Common College Dance Team application, obviously the video that started with the NDCA, I think is a huge step in the right direction. So I'm really excited for that. I think that's
And I think
big.
A lot of teams are like, the ones that haven't really joined are holding off to see like, how will this all work?
Yeah. But I mean, I'm kind of one of those people, and I think you can see when I looked in May, when I was developing like our summer content and education for like the tours and the dance convention that we do. I think at that time, so it launched in May, and by early June, there was 90 teams that were on that list accepting it. So I would just encourage any college coaches, if anybody's listening out there, to...
Hopefully you are.
Yeah, hopefully you are. I would encourage you to get on it. I'm like, yes, I'm sure there's going to be things that have to get figured out and wiggled out along the way, but the more teams that can participate and be a part of the conversation, I think is more important than sitting on the sidelines and waiting for everybody to figure it out and then joining,
Yeah.
I would rather encourage people to just be a part of the process and develop it together, because it's the college coaches that need to like really work that out, because it is them. And it's hard. I do want to recognize all these college programs all have different, some are under marketing, some are club still, some are under athletics and have to follow NCAA. It's just all over the map. And I don't think a lot of people realize that too. They're like, why can't they all just get along? And it's like, okay, well, they do. They're trying, and some have a lot of money, some have no money. It's like there's such a different playing field, I think, for all of these college programs, that I would say the general public doesn't understand some of the roadblocks that I think they're occurring. But I do think it's a great step in the right direction, and hope that everybody will continue to work together. And I think the next big step is like an offer date. I think that's truly, honestly, the next biggest thing that would really significantly help dancers, or like an audition date even. It's hard to do. I know. I'm probably like speaking a dream over here. But I think
it's hard. I mean, if a kid gets an offer and they still might get another offer, what if they do get that second offer? They don't want to let this one down, but once they say yes, and then they have to say no because now they want to say yes to this, it's just so hard that, I know that coaches are probably thinking, well, if I give it to them first, they'll come here, but you might make somebody miserable.
Yeah,
and I think that is the goal, right? I mean, I think the goal, and it should be for every college coach, and I think for majority of them it is, the goal is that kid is thriving. You don't want nobody wants a kid on their team that doesn't want to be there.
Yeah,
that kid's not going to succeed. Nor is that a kid you want to coach. Really, it's mutual. So I think it is important, right? At the general goal, the middle should be like getting the kid to the right school, right, where they belong, where their strengths, like I said, like where they're not going to be sitting, being the alternate for 4 years. They're actually going to be contributing. They're going to be developing. That's what builds confidence and sense of self, and all of those good things that come with being a young adult.
I think it's also important for these coaches to make sure that they're also vocalizing in a certain way their interest in specific people too. And then I think it's also important for dancers to understand the kind of interest that the coach has expressed to them. Because if you've gone to all of these clinics and the coach hasn't paid attention to you, and like you talk to them, you're like, hi, I've been here 5 times, and they're like, oh, they're yeah,
like, hey, you,
then
what's your name?
Yeah, like maybe not the fit for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, yeah, I mean, here's what I'll say about that, because I think that's such like a great topic of conversation in recruitment. Something that I always educate a dancer on is, especially by, now all college coaches are different. Some of them respond quick. Some of them want to be, you know, talking to your parents and getting to know you and inviting you places. Others of them are like, I'm too busy. You might be lucky to get an email from me. So like, say this with like a little bit of, you know, grain of salt. But all the college coaches, right, communicate differently. However, when I do talk to high school dancers, I'm like, something you need to be aware of is what I call like reciprocation of communication. Yes. So I essentially always educate them on like, by the time you get to like that fall of your senior year, you really, if you're not getting reciprocation from a coach, if you're not showing up to the clinic and being like, oh my gosh, Carson, like, so good to see you, I'm so happy you're here, thank you, or like, if you're not getting called out in groups, if you're not getting special attention, if you're not like really starting to bond with maybe some of the current team mates, usually that's a good sign again by like, you know, fall of senior year. If you're really not starting to get that like reciprocation, it's usually a good sign that you need to like pivot,
cut your losses in that
right turn, and go this way. On that note too, something I just kind of want to bring up, because I always talk about this too, is a lot of those dancers, it's important to understand the same question of like, how do I stand out, right? That most common question. I think it's important to understand that like in college dance right now, we don't have, right, like in other college sports, there's a 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star recruit. So a lot of times it's a 3.5-star recruit that's asking me like, how do I stand out at a Minnesota or Ohio State clinic? And I'm like, this is what the reality, and this is not just, you know, obviously like opinion based, it's like factual. If you look at other college sports, it's like the reality is like if you are a 3.5 star in a room filled of 5-star recruits, you can't stand out. You can't, because your ability level hasn't allowed that for you to happen. Now, when you put yourself as your 3.5, you know, star recruit, and then you go to either, you know, a lower level school or maybe not as competitive a school, and you put yourself at a clinic, and their normal recruiting profile is accepting, you know, the 3-star dancer or 2.5 to 3-star dancer, and you're a 3.5, it's like, that's how you're going to stand out. Like your ability, you got to put yourself in the right room, in the right situation and in the right environment to stand out. I think that like a lot of, I know that sounds like so like, like very basic bones,
no, but it's true.
A lot of dancers don't understand that. I'm like, you can't. Like if you're not,
because in their head also they may be the top star in their studio or in their dance team, and understanding that, okay, well now when you're put with all the top dancers from everywhere,
all over,
you
that
drop
pool
now.
But that's, I mean, truly, I mean, like, I think that's happened to, like, literally wouldn't you say, like, that's happened to you at some point in your life? You've gotten put into a room where you're like, okay, like, I'm really good, and then you, like, it doesn't even have to be dance-related. It can be business-related or in school or whatever it is, you know, insert thing that you think you're good at, and then all of a sudden the pool opens up, and you're like, oh.
Not that great.
Reality check. Okay. Like, so it is good that they explore that, too. You know? I don't want, again, my goal is never, and I feel like we do a good job of finding the line, like I'm never discouraging. That's never what we want to be. I think it's just more the realistic person. That's like, okay, like here's what's realistic for you. Like this is where you're going to thrive. Because again, that is the goal, is that this kid is happy for 4 years and is like, this is the best decision I've ever made.
Yeah. And it's funny because several years ago, I had talked to how my kids were not going to college dance teams. They, didn't want to leave. Miami didn't want to leave.
Becky?
And I was trying, and they're like, no. They were like, I've done dancing. Like most of them just didn't want to keep going. Brought you guys over, and little by little, like it's like sprinkle.
It just takes one. Usually. Yeah. It really does take like one
to cross the line.
Then it's like starting to be like, oh.
Okay. And now all of them.
It is crazy to think about. It's so cool, and I'm so grateful to you guys, obviously, for even us bringing an event here and really building that relationship. It is really cool because like Miami has always been, as everybody knows, a talent hot spot. I mean, it's so many good dancers are in this area. But you are correct. It was 3 years ago, right? Yeah. 3 to 4 years ago, nobody. It was like, yoo-hoo. Like,
they didn't know.
And that's, anytime you see like a lot of talent, you're always like, why? Like, why is this, why do they not want to continue? So it's been really cool to see now, like, especially a lot of those dancers, right? A lot of your, you know, your guys' kids have come to our events, you know, maybe sometimes 2-3 years now. So you've gotten to watch them from, like, knowing nothing and being like, what am I doing here? Like, what is college dance? Like, let's just start there. Or, like, what are the pom-poms? Like, they're just, like, so lost. To then now, like, they're going to some of the top D1A schools clinics and, like, probably on their prospect list.
Yeah. And that amazing. They've also opened their eyes to there's not just this school and this school. You know, I have a couple of kids who are going to other schools that, you know, wouldn't even have thought of going to them, but now they're like going to those clinics and they're interested in, they're being recruited over there and they're really considering, hey, I want to go there. So it's
that's a goal too. I feel like, again, one of the biggest purposes of our event / I feel like what I'm most proud of is like thinking about the dancer from Miami that's like going to end up in like at whatever, just an example, like the kid can grow up in Florida, go to a studio in Florida, whatever, and then they come to our event or they get that exposure and then all of a sudden they end up in like at Penn State or like in Ohio. It's like that opportunity didn't exist before to like really make those connections. So it is crazy. And to your point, I love that you hit on, I think a lot of the dancers, right, because of, you know, the UDA videos every single year and TikTok and how really how much exposure college dance has gotten. There's a lot of the same schools, right, that everybody has in their mind of what they feel like or the teams that they want to be on. So I think that's something too that I would say is so important for any high school dancer out there, or, you know, high school coach that's or educating a dancer, is to understand quite how many options there are.
Yeah. And there's a school for everyone.
Oh yeah, and I think that's what's cool. I mean, you can't say that about maybe every single other sport, but I do think that in dance right now, with where we're at in this industry, if you want to dance in college, like, you got a spot somewhere.
Yeah.
It just might not be at the level that you think it is, or not the state that you think it is, or whatever. But it's pretty crazy. It's amazing too how many opportunities there really are out there, and so it's wild to watch for sure.
Yeah. So you were one of the big choreographers, and you choreographed one of the big pieces that really, I think, made college dance team really take off, not just in the dance world, but like
the TikTok world.
But like everywhere. Insane. How did that feel? How was that like? I feel like that was probably such a surreal moment for you.
Yeah. I'm guessing, are you talking about like boy?
Yes, obviously.
Okay. I'm like, I figured, but
still to this day my favorite.
Yeah. You know, so obviously it's interesting. So Sammy and I, that was the second year, technically third because of COVID. So for those that don't know, obviously Sammy McFadden, one of my, you know, really good friends now, we essentially started to work together in 2020. So we did like one routine, one COVID routine, and then that was the third routine we did together. And I think obviously, as people know, and as we've kind of talked about before, you've probably seen on social media, right, the message was very clear. Obviously the recognition and respect that dance team was getting, and honestly still is today, is not at the level of other sports on that college campus. You know, they have gone off, or even when they win a national championship and versus when other sports do. But that's also like where we're at in the industry. It goes way bigger beyond, obviously, like we're not super profitable for a university, so there's a lot of other bigger conversations we can get into. However, coming off of COVID and kind of, again, them getting told that they couldn't compete, but other sports could, I think was kind of like, you know, we really had that idea. The Sierra was actually the closing section of their COVID routine because they couldn't compete, so we ended up taking them to Monsters of Hip Hop. So we kind of knew that we loved it already, but like came in, you know, set that piece, and honestly, like Sammy and I would say, came into the studio and we choreographed like a minute, like fast. Like that first minute of the choreo that you literally saw on the nationals floor, we choreographed it like a combo, and it like came out so quick, just like, which I think goes to like probably show like how inspired we were by the message and just like the feeling of the song.
I was going to say, Sammy doesn't normally choreograph quickly.
No. I could tell you right now. I can tell you right now.
I mean,
we love her. She's a genius.
Yeah.
But definitely takes her time.
I'm no better. Like, I used to be able to choreograph like that, especially when you get us two together. It's like, I'm the overthinker, and she's like the, like, like, she's also overthinker, and, like, the two of us, it's like, oof, we have to be careful. I'm like, we can go for literally 700 years. Anyways, with Like a Boy, I think it was... I don't know. It was just crazy because that was one of those routines that we choreographed, and we have this feeling a lot where we're looking at each other in January and we're like, okay, this is either going to like hit or flop hard. Like, there's one of two options. We're either getting first place or like we are getting sixth place.
Right.
Like, and we, you know, we have those feelings a lot. It was just it was not controversial. It was just very movement forward. There was no skills in it. I think we had like one shoulder sit, which was like forced by probably Terry Rowe to be like, get this girl up on for a level. We just like didn't, it was very choreography based. Also what they were wearing was a little bit more like raw, like less like stage performance and a little bit more like streetwear. Like it was a little bit more casual. I don't know how to explain it. So we were concerned, definitely. So like we had no clue. And you don't know. I mean, especially at UDA, I feel like it's like moving target, specifically in the hip hop category. Sometimes we're like, yeah, you're kind of like, okay, so like, are we hitting the marker or not? So when I think when we both knew that this was something special, and like when we were like, oh, whoa, like not expecting it, was between semifinals. We obviously like, they made us wait around, like the judges, I don't know what they were doing back there, but they made us wait so long to figure out like, they announced the finals order, or like going into finals, what order you're in. We were announced last, which meant that we were in first place. And I remember that moment so vividly. It was absolutely amazing and crazy. Sammy and I were like literally crying because like, again, I think it's just like a reward because you're like, wow, like people appreciate it. Like we love it. Sammy and I are always like, if we love it and the kids love it and they look amazing and then that's what ultimately matters, But I think to get the external validation is obviously always great too. By the time finals had happened, people were already doing some of the steps. Like the can't be getting what you meant, or can't, like whatever, the like chorus parts. Like the people were coming up to me and like doing it already, and I was like, okay. I'm like, I've never seen it again. I think people don't realize like I've competed at that. I've seen some of the most iconic performances from Pace, or like again our All-Star team, Eastern Washington Elite, or Coral Reef back in the day. Like I've grown up in this land, so like I was like, okay, like this is different. Like I've never seen people react like this. And then by the time that finals performance, like literally like they got off stage, it was like poof, viral on TikTok. So being a part of that, I think, is probably one of the most proud. That's probably one of my favorite teams we've ever choreographed, obviously, for, yes, external reasons, but also internal. It meant so much. That was the first national championship Sammy and I won together, coming off of the COVID year and how those girls were treated. I think it meant so much to the program, and also, honestly, for, like, not to go, like, so big, but, like, female sports and specifically the college dance world, because that was, it blasted, it took everybody from, like, okay, college dance team, like, kind of cheer, kind of not, to then like, what's happening over here?
It became the Olympics that year.
It was like people started to be, all the studio owners and all of the like people, that's when you really started to see, I think that year, like a lot of people being like, what's happening? What is this over here? So to be a part of that, I think, is probably one of the coolest parts, I would say. Definitely on like the dance team side of my career that I've ever been a part of. Just kind of perfect storm. When you have those seasons where you're like, how did we get here? Sammy and I still, like, when we talk about it, it's like that season was crazy. And even before that, when they do like a family and friend show off, before these college dance teams compete, they do like a performance for their hometown, or their university. That night, we were both crying on FaceTime because, again, that was the first time they'd ever performed it live in front of an audience. And like the alumni's reaction and people's reaction was like so crazy that like Sammy and I were literally crying on FaceTime. We were like, they like it. They love us. Like, oh my gosh. Like, because up until that moment, you're guessing.
Yeah.
You don't know.
You're
like, people could absolutely hate this.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah. So, and it's hard because it's your piece. So like you know how you feel, but you really never know how everybody else feels. And so you finally get that moment. And it really, I mean, it will be one of those pieces that people are going to remember for years. They're going to be like, oh, that piece. Yeah. Like there's a piece from, oh my God, it must be at least 10, 15 years ago that Tennessee did.
Seven Nation?
No, they had heels.
Crazy in Love.
I think it was Crazy
in Love. Or they did Beyonce Max.
It was, yes. And I remember watching them do the dance, and it was just such a memorable dance that for years, everybody was still talking about it, and I would still talk about it to my kids because of their performance quality. It was so different. You guys' piece is going to be like that. It's going to be one of those pieces that people are going to remember forever.
Well, thank you.
And because it's, now we have TikTok, definitely going to be something that people are going to watch.
I mean, every single year, how the sororities do their, like, I was never in a sorority, but, like, the, I don't know what it's called. Like, they all do the dances.
Yes.
Every single year, about, like, August, September, here come all the tags. It's going viral again because a lot of the sororities will do it. So like it doesn't die. It's like or Halloween. I'm like, you still see the teams that are dressing up in the white bandana and the white pants. Sammy and I are always saying it to each other like, how this is like the gift that keeps on giving. Like honestly, like we're like, how did we get here? So yeah, needless to say, I think that being a part of that year and season, it was just like so much bigger than just a dance team win. You know, it was like a little bit more. So I think that's what makes it so special. And those kids. Yeah. That team.
And choreography wise, what are you doing this year? Are you still doing more pieces? Are you stepping back from choreography? Because it's kind of hard with everything that you're doing to choreograph as much as you've been doing.
Yes, it is. So I think my goal is to just lean a little bit more into the creative side, because for the last few years, it's like I only get two outlets a year. It's like Ohio State and LSU. And it's crazy too. It's like, you know, my therapist, go to therapy, is like always explains it. She's like, it's like trying to like never run a marathon. No, don't train. And then twice a year you try to just like put on shoes and go.
Yeah.
And so it's hard. It's challenging to just like put that on and like try to be just like creative and at that level. It's not just like, oh, like go be creative. I'm working with two of the best dance teams in the country. Yeah. So it's hard. So I think this year, like trying to get, you know, focus on the business a little bit more, keep growing it, obviously giving opportunities for a lot of high school dancers out there, doing some hopefully new and fun and exciting projects. And then also just tapping a little bit more into like myself personally, whether that's just teaching more or like consulting more, just like kind of getting back into a little bit more of, I would say my roots creatively would be my goal.
Yeah, because you consult and you like hold people's hands that are working for you. So I mean, you get your little creativeness out
and
through
training
that.
Choreographers, like that's probably like one of my favorite things to do too. So like with Choreo Connect, the agency, right? We have like 53 choreographers in the agency this year. It's like starting about, you know, I start to do office hours in the fall, and I would say like even in the spring I do some training too. We have an amazing agency director, Paige, who does a lot of training as well. But that's probably one of my favorite parts, honestly, is teaching them, which is crazy. But I'm like, the fact that I'm like to the point where I'm now teaching people also like my process. But it's hard. That's also hard because like you're trying to teach somebody your creative process. I'm like, I don't really even know my creative process. So I'm like, I just kind of figure it out. I don't know. Like you just kind of see it and go. So it's been cool because it kind of pulls you in a different way when you're teaching people. But that's probably honestly one of my favorite parts about my job and my role in Tribe 99 is that choreographer training side. It's fun.
I do love too that you have like with your choreographers, once they choreograph their routine, they come to you, they like
the office hours, like it's so cool. And it's fun too because like I don't get to see, you know, don't get to see a lot of their work because at college nationals I'm running around. I don't get to like be the supportive, like I don't get to be like CEO mode. I'm like so focused on, you know, my teams because I'm still actively a choreographer. So it is really fun. In the fall specifically, I typically will set up, you know, a couple hours a month where they can come on, just like show me their routine and get creative feedback. It's not the like, you know, nitty gritty feedback, but actually from a creative person, because it's sometimes, you know, when you get stuck, because I've obviously been there 700 times, when you get stuck in something, they're like, oh, like I literally I couldn't crack that code, but like just having another creative brain to bounce ideas off of. So it's fun. I really like that part of my job, is working with the choreographers and giving them feedback and being like, this makes sense, this doesn't, let's do this instead, or why'd you make this choice, or talk me through this. It's really cool. So I would say that's definitely probably one of my favorite things that I get to do. I don't get to do it enough. I wish I could do it more, but it's fun.
Yeah, I know that Sammy does that with you a lot. When she does her beat, she'll come back and be like, I talked to Carson and
Nathan will do the same. He'll be like, so Carson said. I'm like, okay.
So Carson said. No, that again, it's so fun. And I think I would encourage every choreographer out there. I mean, like having not sending your routine to, you know, Joe Schmo, but to the people that I feel like you have in your circle of trust and that the coach trusts, right? That's a huge, obviously, aspect of it too. Then getting that feedback is so helpful because I'm like, you don't want to wait till nationals to be like, this isn't reading.
Yeah.
So, it's fun. Sammy and I mean, we obviously have such a good friendship, and then Nathan obviously being like, you know, came on to Tribe, and then I was like, you ready for this? I'm like, you have Lords your first year. I'm like, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I got this.
He told me, he was like, really. He was like, you threw me into the wolves.
Same thing with Sammy though. Sammy's very first year. I was like, okay, so I'm like, how do you feel? She took over Carlsbad for me that year, and then also like her first two jobs were Carlsbad and Coral Reef.
Yeah, well,
which I think Carlsbad the year before, I think we won a national championship, or maybe 2 years before, I can't remember. So you know, sometimes you just gotta take the life jacket off, throw them in and say,
do it.
But I'm there. Like Sammy was never, like, you know, same thing. She did all of that on her own. She's so creative, and she always had it. Obviously, it wasn't like me. Like I just kind of forced her, pulled it out of her.
Well, and I think that both Nathan and Sammy are two very, like, they're perfectionists in their craft.
Yes.
And they are so focused on, like, whatever's put on that stage isn't just going to be a whatever piece. It's going to be my best work.
Because I see it, and I think this is what makes them great, and why they'll be around for a while, and why people talk about their pieces, and why they're so good, and have accelerated so fast. Some people can be in the dancing industry for so long and maybe don't escalate as fast up to the top and start to win national championships. And I think it's because a choreographer, to me, like, when you see that piece of work as a reflection of you, then I feel like that's when you are going to do your best work, and that's when you're going to be the most successful in this industry. Because, you know, when you're just kind of like, yeah, that'll work. That, sure, cute, like, where's my check? Like that, it's only going to get you so far. So I think both of them / a lot of our choreographers, honestly, with Choreo Connect internally, because we don't, you know, hire just random people. We hire people who are really good people and who we feel like can really make an impact on different teams across the country. A lot of them see that as like an extension of them. It is, you know, creatively, it's like, this is my piece of work, my art. So I think it's important. Like, yeah, I love that you said that. When they see it, they want it to be the best mirror of them, because it is. And then the team and the coaches are like the vessel of that creative vision. So it's cool to see all that come together. It's probably the coolest thing about dance, honestly. To go back to when we were talking before, that I had asked you what students, when they have to talk to the coaches, we never went to that. And I know we're running out of time. So okay, so number one question, actually number two probably, standing out, and then also the next biggest question I get asked on the recruitment side is like, what do I ask a college coach? I would say this is like not really a hot take because it's just facts. This is how I always explain it. I'm like, if you know, a lot of these dancers, right, especially like before our event, right, they get what we call the college program profiles. It's essentially a spreadsheet with like all of their information, their general information of like, where's the school at, location, do they offer scholarships, how many people are on the team, all the basic stuff that you would want to know. So all of these, that mixed with social media alone, it's like a lot of these dancers already know. They already know, like, do they compete in jazz and pom? Do you dance at football? Do you whatever? They already know a lot of the answers to the questions. So what I would encourage high school dancers now to understand is that it is way less important to ask questions, because oftentimes too these coaches feel interrogated, because they're in a line of, there's 100 recruits in their line that they'll talk to in a span of 45 minutes. It's like it's like speed dating. And they all ask the same questions. They're like, hi, what do you look for in a recruit? It's like, like they feel interrogated. So with that being said, what I always tell high school dancers right now is learning the art of conversation. Like, stop asking questions. I'm like, you don't need to ask questions. If you knew your best friend's favorite ice cream was chocolate, I'm like, would you ask every single day? They're like, no. I'm like, okay, so then stop asking a coach, like, what do you guys compete in jazz and hip hop? Or like, what do you compete in? Like, they're asking questions. Now, if you have a really good question that's personal, that means something to you, then of course that is an opportunity to ask that. But I think it is so important that you understand that you might be 15, 16 years old, which is like tough to talk to somebody who's like holding the keys to your future in your hand. So I feel for these high school dancers, but I also think it's really important that they understand how to have a conversation, how to just walk up very confidently and like shake a hand and make eye contact and like introduce yourself, and then like let the conversation go. Don't feel so forward with the questions, quote unquote, you have to answer, and think about it more as just like a general conversation. For example, if I was to go up to a coach and say like, hi, like I'm Carson, I'm from Richmond, Washington, boom, boom, I went to Eastern Washington, or I danced on Eastern Washington Lee, whatever. You don't know what that coach is gonna be like, oh, like, do you know so-and-so from Washington? And then there's your conversation starter. It's like you only get 60 to 90 seconds with a college coach. So oftentimes it's just like, what's your favorite color? Blue. What do you look for in a recruit? Boom. Do you compete in jazz and hip hop? Hip hop. It's like, that's not a relationship building question. Yeah. It's just,
you're not gonna be memorable.
And there's 100 more of you that I can look at down the line. It's like, so being able to have a conversation, and the reason I say that is because you might be 15, 16 years now, but as soon as you hit 18, the expectation is when you join a dance team, you're going to get put in rooms, you're going to be a representative of the program, you're in a fishbowl, you're part of marketing, you're going to get tossed into rooms full of $1 million donors, $1 billion donors, like whatever it is. It's like you have to be able to carry yourself. So you might only be 15 or 16 now, but like you better, and they're recruiting you at 18. They're recruiting you knowing that at some point you're going to be a young woman ready to, or a young man. So it's like, I think it's important to understand how to talk. Those are the people that stand out to me too. Obviously talent, yes. And I travel around all of our tribe events. Talent and ability will do wonders, right? If somebody does something crazy and they're right, I'm like, whoa, like number 75, and that's like ingrained in my brain. But just as equally, sometimes we'll get done with the event and I'll have a dancer walk up to me and just truly have such a really, one, they're very confident. They're very calm, and they are just, we have a really good conversation, and I will remember that person equally as much. I'm like, Emily, Miami, I will remember you everywhere you go. Just because they're able to say like, hi, how are you? I'm so happy to, it's hard though. I get it. I feel it.
And team culture is such a big thing now these days that like as talented as you are, if a coach doesn't feel like you'll make a connection with the team, sometimes they might not choose you to be on the team. 100%. So you could be extremely talented, have all of the qualities that are fit for the team, but not have that relationship building skill, and that would get in your way. Versus a dancer that might not have a 540 as beautiful as you do, but will mesh so well, will get along so well with the team, will have an amazing work ethic, all those things, and they will get the spot over you.
Yeah, I mean, to that note exactly, it's like what I will say is, and this is how I, again, in a lot of the talks that I do to these recruits, I always say like, and I've seen this happen. It's like, I always explain it. I'm like, let's take recruit A and recruit B. They have the same skills. They can all do the triple pirouette, the double leg hold, the right and left aerials, the 17 540s, like whatever they have, right? They can all do the same skills. But then like dancer A makes it over dancer B, like why do you think that is? And usually, so like essentially what I kind of call this, it's like my kind of made up rule, but it's pretty, I would say, close to being legit, is I call it like the 60-40 rule. Like 40% of the reason you're going to be making a team is because of your talent. You do have to have the required skill set. You do have to be able to do the skills. You do have to be a good fit from a technical ability standpoint. And then I think 60% of the reason you're getting recruited is really about who you are. Meaning, to your point, like you both equally might have 540s, but like this person has a bad reference or like doesn't show up to the studio on time or isn't consistent in their work ethic or doesn't have the determination or has, God forbid, a crazy mommy who, steps in too much, like whatever.
Love those crazy moms.
We love ya. No, but I think it really does come down to the person. It's team culture and character. I mean, you have to coach this kid for the next 4 years. So these college coaches are very picky, but rightfully so. You only get, especially now on the recruitment side, you get 3 to 7 spots a season, and then you're with them for 4 years. So like you want to make sure they're the right fit, that they're the right person, that like, and when the going gets tough, they're a team player, they know how to step up, all those things. So yeah, I mean, talent gets you, I think this is like very cliche, but only so far in the world. So be a good person, be kind, be a good teammate, because that really matters. And even for people like, when I'm at these events, and the amount of times after our events I'm getting texted by college coaches like, how'd this person look? And I'm like, well, actually, either, wow, this person was so great, they worked super hard, or like they don't understand. I'm like, people are watching you at all times.
So like, and when you least expect it.
Oh, and I watch. I'm like, because I love it. I love watching these dancers. They're so talented now. It's so fun for me to come to these events. But yeah, I'm like, if you're like a little brat and you're talking in class and you're not being respectful, I'm like, if a college coach asks, I'm going to be honest about that, because I think it's important for dancers to understand being a good person and being respectful and training.
And there's too much talent. There's too many great dancers and great people out there.
They're moving on to, it's just, we're getting better, I think, as it's really changed, especially with the recruitment. But to your point, it's like, they don't understand that, like, they're not waiting for you. They've got a list of 250 other people.
Yeah.
So if you're out, they're like,
next.
Yeah. Like, it is that competitive. And it's only going to get even more so as it gets more regulated and as college dance continues to become all the things it's going to be. To thrive. To be the next iconic sport. Yes.
Well, Carson, it has been awesome to have you here. So much information that some of these dancers really don't get. So it's great everything you had to tell us today. And hopefully, they now know a little bit more about Tribe.
Yes.
And how to find you. And
yes, because I think that's the biggest thing is a lot of seniors. If you're a senior out here, you're probably maybe a little too late, age-wise. But I would say if you're, anything junior and younger, definitely try to get to one of our events, because I think I have so many seniors come up to me and be like, I wish I would have known about this
earlier.
I wish I would have started earlier. So yes, if you're definitely a high school dancer out there, or even 13, 8th grade, talk to your parents, try to get into the Tribe 99 circuit, starting either with the tour on the education side or regional combines or the dance combine that's coming up in May 15 to 17 in Dallas.
And it sells out quickly. Sells out very quickly.
Hot.
So
it is like a 1.5 minute poof, we're gone.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. So definitely try to get to one of our events, hoping to see you guys there in the future.
Well, thank you so much. We really enjoyed having you here today.
It's awesome.
And thank you to our audience for being with us this week, and for Carson for all this amazing information we got today.
And if you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube and follow us on Instagram. And if you have any questions or suggestions, make sure to click on our link tree in our bio and fill out our Google form.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.